I'm so excited to meet you.
My gosh, that's a big guitar.
Yep.
Yeah.
The 10-year-old who shattered silence on national TV. In a moment that stunned the America's Got Talent stage into awestruck silence, a 10-year-old boy named Melnick Virgolino appeared from behind the curtain, clutching a guitar almost as tall as himself. At first glance, many thought this was just another cute kid audition, the kind that earns polite applause and vanishes in the flood of viral noise. But within seconds of striking his first chord, covering Lenny Kravitz's "Are You Gonna Go My Way" with the grit and confidence of a seasoned rock star, Bay obliterated every stereotype in the book. This wasn't just talent. This was raw, unpredictable electricity packaged in a child who had clearly lived through more rehearsal rooms than playgrounds. The judges leaned forward, the audience erupted, and before long, the internet had declared him the second coming of Slash. But while the world cheered, behind those bright stage lights stood a quieter, lesser-known reality. The price of being a prodigy in an industry that often forgets children are still, well, children. Reporters scrambled to trace his roots, YouTube clips from his earlier gigs resurfaced, and interviews painted a picture of a boy whose life revolved around fretboards and feedback. Yet missing from the conversation was the emotional weight of growing up while being consumed by fame, a burden few adults could carry, let alone a kid barely old enough to ride a roller coaster alone. And this, dear viewers, is where the story twists. Because as applause fades and headlines shift, the path ahead for Melnick Virgolino isn't just about more solos or viral reels. It's about survival in a spotlight that's as unforgiving as it is dazzling. And what that spotlight hides is what we'll uncover next. Born to shred, the unseen sacrifices behind the strings. Before he became a sensation on America's Got Talent, Melnick Virgolino was just a little boy with calloused fingers and dreams louder than his amplifier. Hailing from a quiet home where music echoed louder than cartoons, Bay didn't just stumble into stardom. He practiced his way through it. It's been reported that Bay first picked up a guitar at an age when most kids are still fumbling with crayons. While others his age were mastering hopscotch or Roblox, Bay was obsessing over Slash solos and Lenny Kravitz riffs, spending hours alone perfecting finger placements and string bends. His parents, fully aware of the emotional and financial toll this path might take, reportedly reshaped their lives around his passion. Rehearsal rooms replaced family vacations, local gigs took priority over birthday parties, and school schedules became a jigsaw puzzle to accommodate music lessons and stage appearances. But what the public doesn't see is how heavy a guitar can feel when it's not just an instrument, but a career, a future, a spotlight, and a sacrifice all in one. Sources close to his circle suggest Bay was often practicing until his fingers blistered, facing the kind of discipline and expectations that would make grown musicians sweat bullets. Unlike many AGT hopefuls, Bay didn't just want to play for applause, he wanted to be taken seriously. And for a child prodigy, that's both a dream and a dilemma. The price of becoming the next guitar god before your teen years means missing out on sleepovers, scraped knees, and the luxury of anonymity. In chasing greatness, Bay may have unknowingly traded some pieces of childhood for chords and concert lights. And yet, with every note he plays, there's an undeniable fire that makes the trade seem worth it. But even the brightest fire casts long shadows, and in Bay's case, those shadows are just beginning to stretch. The viral fame that changed everything. When Melnick Virgolino's jaw-dropping performance aired on America's Got Talent, it didn't just go viral. It detonated across the internet like a power chord dropped from heaven. Within hours, his name was trending on Twitter, Facebook Reels featured his solos, and YouTube clips of his audition were being shared by everyone from classic rock fans to teenage TikTokers. The visual of a 10-year-old with a guitar nearly twice his size, confidently tearing through a Lenny Kravitz anthem didn't just resonate, it rewrote what audiences thought was possible for a child musician. But here's what most people don't realize. When fame hits this fast, it rarely asks if you're ready. One moment Bay was a kid practicing in modest rehearsal spaces. The next, he was being hailed as the future of rock by magazines, music influencers, and late-night talk shows. The praise was relentless. Some compared him to a young Slash. Others boldly called him a reincarnation of Hendrix in miniature form. And yet, while all this praise sounded like a dream come true, it came wrapped in the thorns of overwhelming expectations. Behind the scenes, Bay's life transformed overnight. Suddenly, every note he played wasn't just for fun, it was under public scrutiny. He was no longer a child learning in private. He was a viral figure being dissected on message boards, reaction channels, and Instagram stories. Every fumble, every pause, every misstep became potential clickbait. Interviews started rolling in. So did offers, sponsorships, and requests from every direction. The weight of opportunity began pressing hard on his tiny shoulders. Some insiders hinted at sleepless nights not from stage fright but from the sheer pace of this whirlwind. Viral fame doesn't come with a manual. For Bay, it meant navigating adult-sized dreams with child-sized emotions. And just when he thought the high notes couldn't get any higher, reality tuned in with a chilling reminder: the internet never sleeps and it never forgets. What came next would test not just his talent, but his resilience. Behind the scenes, the silent pressure of stardom. While audiences applauded and judges praised his electrifying solos, few stopped to consider what happens when a child becomes a headline before they even hit puberty. Behind the roaring crowd and viral clips, Melnick Virgolino faced a pressure cooker that not even the loudest amplifier could drown out. Viewers saw a confident kid with guitar god swagger, but they didn't see the hours of mental conditioning, the missed dinners, the nerves trembling behind his smile. Sources close to the production of America's Got Talent suggest that Bay was under immense pressure to deliver perfection. Every time, no excuses. And in a world where one-off note can be clipped, shared, and mocked within minutes, that kind of pressure can quickly spiral from motivation into emotional strain. Unlike adult contestants who have had years to build emotional armor, Bay had to learn how to handle national attention while still figuring out how to handle math homework. Every rehearsal wasn't just practice, it was performance under surveillance. Coaches, producers, vocal critics online, all watching, all weighing in. The noise didn't stop when the stage lights dimmed. It followed him backstage into hotel rooms and back home. And for a child, that's a load even the strongest strings can't carry without fraying. Rumors swirled that behind his polished performances were moments of quiet overwhelm, tears not from failure but from fatigue. The kind of exhaustion that doesn't show up in highlight reels. For every standing ovation, there was a moment of doubt Bay had to wrestle alone, away from the cameras. And yet he kept smiling, kept showing up, kept playing like the world wasn't watching his every move. Because that's what professionals do even when they're only 10. But the question that lingers louder than any guitar solo is this: how long can a child sustain that level of pressure before it starts tuning them out of their own joy? The risks and realities of child stardom. For every standing ovation and viral clip that celebrates Melnick Virgolino's explosive talent, there's an invisible price tag few are willing to talk about, one that's haunted child prodigies across generations. The moment a kid becomes a national sensation, they stop being just a kid and start becoming a brand, a product, a symbol of something much bigger than themselves. And that's exactly the quiet cliff Bay now teeters on. The entertainment world is littered with stories of gifted children cheered in the spotlight only to vanish, burnt out or broken behind it. Psychologists have long warned that the pressure of fame during formative years can twist a child's identity, detaching them from the simple joys of growing up. When your day-to-day life includes TV interviews, backstage calls, and performance prep, not football games, comic books, or riding your bike, it changes how you see yourself and how others treat you. Friends stop seeing you as a classmate and start treating you like a celebrity. Strangers ask for selfies. Adults make deals around your name. And in that chaos, a kid like Bay can begin to feel more like a machine than a musician. Experts call this performance identity disorder, when a young person's sense of worth is tied only to how well they perform. It's not a far-off concept, it's a looming reality for any child star. What happens if Bay wants to take a break or switch paths? Will the internet allow it, or will he be locked into a six-string expectation for the rest of his youth? This is the tragic tightrope young stars walk, where one misstep, one bad audition, one missed note can spark a wildfire of criticism. It's not paranoia, it's precedent. And if the adults around him aren't vigilant, if they don't protect his joy as fiercely as they protect his image, then even the most gifted fingers can lose their spark. Fame is loud, but the consequences of early burnout are even louder and far more permanent. What the future holds for Melnick Virgolino. As the lights dimmed after his show-stopping AGT performance and the buzz slowly moved on to the next trending topic, the question lingered like feedback after a concert. What's next for Melnick Virgolino? The truth is, for a child thrust into the entertainment machine so early, the road ahead is both dazzling and dangerous. On one hand, Bay has the chops to be a generational talent. His technical ability, stage presence, and fearless execution are already leagues beyond most adults. Record labels could be circling, brand deals are likely knocking, and talent agents probably have his name underlined 3 times. But here, where it gets complicated, navigating a music career at 10 is like trying to ride a rocket with training wheels. If mishandled, the same system that celebrates child stars can chew them up and discard them the moment they stumble. One missed note or one awkward interview can ignite viral backlash. Fans demand consistency, but real children, unlike fictional superheroes, don't come with always-on switches. Then there's school, social life, emotional growth, areas that can quietly collapse under the weight of celebrity. Will Bay have time to build real friendships? Will he get to experience failure in a safe space, not one broadcast to millions? And most importantly, will his passion for music survive the pressure of monetization? Many child prodigies lose their spark not because they weren't good enough, but because the joy got replaced with deadlines and expectations. Bay's next phase could involve international tour, album releases, or even acting roles. But it must also involve boundaries, rest, and people who see him as a kid before they see him as a cash machine. Fame can be a powerful amplifier, but if the emotional wiring isn't protected, it can also short-circuit everything. So as fans cheer for what comes next, perhaps the more important question is how far will Bay go? But who's guiding him on the way? A final note's fame, childhood, and the cost of going viral. When the crowd clears and the hashtags fade, what remains is the story of a child who lit up a stage brighter than most adults ever will, and the quiet question of what that moment truly cost. Melnick Virgolino's rise is not just a tale of talent, but a case study in modern fame's double-edged blade. Viral success, once a dream for struggling artists, now comes with a timer, an audience, and an unspoken demand for more, faster, louder. And for someone who's still losing baby teeth, that's a lot to carry between chords. In the old days, child stars were managed by small circles and developed over years. Today, fame moves at algorithm speed. One clip can change your life. One moment of brilliance can launch 1,000 headlines, but those same headlines can disappear the second your next performance isn't equally explosive. Bey's story at its core reminds us of something often forgotten in entertainment. Children are not products. They're people, small, growing, emotionally fragile people who laugh, cry, doubt, and dream like the rest of us. And while Bey's fingers might echo the legends of Hendrix or Kravitz, his heart still beats with the uncertainty of youth. He deserves more than just applause. He deserves protection, patience, and peace. As audiences, we have a responsibility too, to cheer without pushing, to celebrate without consuming, to remember that behind every viral clip is a real child who might be overwhelmed, exhausted, or quietly pleading for a break. Bey may go on to become a music legend, or he may one day choose a quieter path, and either way, that decision should be his to make, not ours to demand. Because in a world obsessed with what's next, we often forget to ask, are they okay now? And that, dear viewers, might be the most important encore of all.